This edition of MacVoices is supported by the MacVoices Dispatch, our weekly newsletter to keep you up on all the latest from MacVoices. Watch or listen to MacVoices straight from your email client. Sign up at macvoices.com/newsletter and stay up to date. Welcome to MacVoices Live. This is our holiday party edition of MacVoices Live, and we are streaming on Facebook and YouTube. And you can join us every Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, as we do this, not with all the paraphernalia, but as we do MacVoices Live. We'd love to have you. If you're a little bashful and don't want to be in the Zoom room with us, that's okay, and I wouldn't blame you in this show. Feel free to jump into the chats either on Facebook or YouTube. We'll take your comments, questions, thoughts, ideas, and run from there. So I want to run around the room and let everyone know who's here, and then after that, I may leave and just see what happens. So let's see. Going based on my screen, first up, Mr. Andrew Orr. Andrew, welcome. It's great to have you.
Good to be here, Chuck. Yeah, sorry I don't have any really Christmassy things, but I'm here anyway.
That's okay. Just the fact that you showed up is gift enough. We really appreciate it. Next up, wearing I don't know what she's wearing. Ms. Kelly Guimont. Excuse me. I'll start with Kelly. Kelly, what are you wearing?
All curly-haired women look alike to you.
What is this? Yeah, no.
I love you, Chuck.
I love you, Chuck. This is just tinsel that is lit, although it's not as lit as Andrew is right now.
That's true. That's probably true.
I was going to say that's not the only thing that's lit, Kelly, but we'll go from there.
That's true, but yeah, that's true.
Yes. Okay, so to the other curly-haired lady in the room, Ms. Brittany Smith. Welcome, Brittany. And what are you wearing?
They made me put on red. This is what I had.
Okay. Good. Works for me.
It's just trying to be festive. Yeah. We got it.
Good.
Is that a kimono?
It's not a kimono because that's a specific thing, but it is an Asian robe. Yes.
Okay.
It's Chinese anywhere. I mean, it's Christmas anywhere. Chinese anywhere.
Speaking of that,
Mr.
Frank Petrie. Frank, good to have you.
Is it?
Is it though?
Yeah.
I mean, really, let's think about that. Let's ponder that for a second. Is it really good? But one, is it good for you?
This isn't philosophy.
Two, is it good for me that no one would have me anywhere else?
This group has been into the eggnog already.
Yeah.
Mr. Guy Serle is here as well, the man that is constantly looking for a microphone to make him sound like Dean Martin.
Yeah, I love Dean Volare. I have never been bashful, but I have been accused of being dopey.
Thank you. You've been waiting all day to use that line, haven't you?
Well played, sir.
Somebody said bashful, and then it was like, okay, here's my line.
Last but absolutely not least, the most read person on the panel, except for me, is Mr. David Ginsburg. David, welcome, and thanks so much for being here.
Oh, great to be here. Yeah, I came on with a different shirt, and I said, I better get my red shirt on, so why not give Apple here?
Well, yeah. Of course, that means you're going to be the first to die.
What? Wait, where does that go?
Not in next gen. Not in
Star Trek.
Oh.
Original series,
TOS,
like
yes.
all the people, everyone goes on the mission that we recognize, and they take one dude in a red shirt, and the one dude in the red shirt gets dismantled by the aliens, and there he goes.
I like Red Dwarf. I want the blue H for hologram.
So, folks, we're going to do an official drinking game tonight. So every time the phrase Star Wars comes up, drink.
Oh, God.
And Star Trek.
I'm gonna be
Do you
dead.
take two?
I don't have.
Hey, Star Trek 2.
What's everybody drinking?
Aren't we equally denominational around here? Don't you have to count Star Trek 2?
Which is what we were actually just talking about.
Yeah, but you guys snuck Star Wars in earlier too. So, no, I figured
it was not sneaking. It was very obvious. Yeah. I mean, hi.
Now, in the chat, someone, I'm not going to say who, put the spirit of Christmas is a Force ghost. So.
I'm going to remind, it was neither of the people who you would expect to see that from. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, we'll leave it at that. I'll let you guys figure out who else in the panel might do that.
This is not the holiday party that you were looking for.
The betting starts at $5.
Oh, man.
So
I've never so much wanted this to come out the next day, Chuck. Just putting it out there.
Yeah, you can cut this up and it'll be like a 2-minute show.
okay, I have a question. David, I really want to hear more about your shirt.
Want to hear more about my shirt? This was somebody who sold this shirt to me who actually was an Apple employee at one point, and they wore this one year. So you would see people at Apple stores wearing this, and I got to give Apple.
So is that product red?
It could be.
Hey, that
It is now.
that was quick.
It is now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
5 points, Andrew.
I don't remember that one actually, David. I don't know if that was a holiday shirt that they were supporting a particular cause or
No,
whether it was
not
through
sure.
product red. Yeah.
It looked really cool, and one of our members of the Apple user group wasn't an Apple store employee. He has quite a collection of shirts, so I bought a few from him. So
Awesome.
Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah, I like it.
thanks.
Well, guys, I thought we would do something a little sort of Christmassy. And I have to admit, I've been a little worried about this show, not just for the obvious reasons.
So
but,
have we, Chuck.
Yeah. But, as to what we could do and that would kind of embody the holiday spirit. And so I thought we're going to play a little game of brainstorming or Apple wishing as to what we would love to see Apple do. And I'm including brainstorming in there because nothing here has to be really realistic. What would we like to see Apple do in the coming years as far as product, as far as policies, as far as anything? I thought that would make for an interesting discussion because as we discussed this today, as we recorded this, I should say, Frank and I were earlier on Ken Ray's live show listening to Ken talk about the Apple car. And there seems to be a lot of wishful thinking around the Apple car. And so that sort of gave me the idea of, is it wishful thinking, and do we wish for an Apple car?
I wish they'd stop talking about the Apple car because I really think they're just going to go software. I think basically what they're going to do is Apple can make a ton of dosh if they just come up with this amazing software system and just farm it out to any company that wants to buy it.
CarPlay.
They did that though, and CarPlay isn't
but that's
mustard.
but that's sort of light and fluffy compared to what I'm thinking. I'm thinking of like the kind of software that Elon does so that you can upgrade your vehicle purely through a software upgrade.
Well, so I talked to Brian Chaffin about this because Brian has had a soft spot in his heart for the Apple car for years. And so I talked to him this morning on the Daily Observations podcast over at macobserver.com. And we had a whole conversation about doing that because my sort of shorthand was, what if they just did CarPlay Plus and made a deal with somebody who's already in the business of making automobiles and let them make the car, and Apple makes all of the interactivity, all of the software piece of it so that the part that you interact with is all Apple, but the innards, are a Ford or a Honda or a Chevy or Subaru or whatever.
Bingo.
So, but I don't know how, here's the thing is that the story that came out last night was like next September, which is ludicrous at best. And the one from Reuters this morning was more like 2024. And we're hearing more of that. And that seems more realistic, but it's still not the thing I want Apple to be interested in. So,
I think
I personally don't care if they make a car or not, is what I'm saying.
They could do the software as opposed to, let's say, if Windows made the software, you'd have to pull your car over every 5 miles and reboot.
But what you're talking about is the Windows model, not one that Apple traditionally uses, right? They like the things to work together. Usually. I had assumed it was dead like everybody else.
Yeah. Well, it was for a while. Like the guy that was in charge of it laid off like all the people.
Yeah. And
they were down to 12.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're going to do, but I'm okay if they want to tempt me to get something that's not a Tesla. At the moment, that's my
Same.
primary, like, oh, you're rich tomorrow. What do you want to buy? The first thing is a Tesla. But
Same.
at the same, and I'm okay with them wanting to change my mind about that. If it, integrates with stuff and you can get it serviced without wanting to shoot yourself.
Also a valid
Which
concern.
is a hesitation with Tesla. But they're so pretty.
And
I'm
they're
okay.
so fast.
I'm okay with them wanting to do that. There's other things they've done that I like less, but I don't know what they're going to do. When I first heard the car, I was like, this seems like a poor choice because people sue people over cars. And that sounds like something Apple would want to avoid, is all that whole safety garbage. But
People sue
I don't
people
know.
over everything.
Safety
no, but-
garbage. Wait a minute.
No, I love that.
No.
That's
What I
perfection.
mean is, I have this very vivid memory from watching Fight Club for the first time, where the guy works for
jeez.
insurance, and the rule they made was that if you wouldn't lose more, I have no idea if this is true, but it was from the movie Fight Club, and I was impressionable. And if you were more likely to get sued, then that wouldn't cost you as much as the actual violation that would make somebody die. They still did the thing.
Then they would do the thing. Yeah.
Right.
It's a numbers game.
And
Literally a
the idea
numbers
of
game.
that melding with Apple made my heart hurt a little bit, but also thought like, you don't want to deal with enterprise BS. Why would you want to deal with this BS?
Right.
And I'm not saying safety isn't a BS. I worked for Disney, like safety. I'm all about it. But at the same time, like that's a big, messy thing to deal with. But again, if they want to tempt me, go for it. I don't know. Yeah.
The one thing I know where you're coming from, but somewhere along the line, and forgive me, it's one of those quotes that sticks in your head, but who said it didn't stick. That the car is the ultimate portable personal device, and that was one of the reasons that Apple was looking into it or working on it. And I think now maybe the pandemic has changed that a little bit, but hopefully if we ever get back to normal, it'll be more like that. But I guess the reason I question it or how they would get into it, especially if you're talking about a true Apple car manufactured by Apple, is that the margins just aren't there, not the kind of margins that Apple typically likes. And then you have issues of repairs and dealerships and supply lines for repairs and on and on and on that are tough enough with a computer, but with a car, ooh, wow.
I heard a really good thing on that today. It was on, names are escaping me.
That
it was on a podcast. That one podcast, yeah. Which was that is true for every smartphone maker except Apple. Or that was true for tablets, or that was true for computers except for Apple.
Mm-hmm.
What was
Tim
true?
Cook and supply chains. The margins were razor thin.
Yeah.
On so many things. Of course, they also said that about TVs, and they didn't do a TV. But
right.
If anybody could do it, do I think they could? Sure.
Well, you could do it, but at least I would think that, again, knowing the way Apple likes to operate, they would be pricing it with their margin as you like it. And man, they have just gotten the daylights beat out of them by the internet over AirPods Max. So, $100,000 Apple car, people would go out of their minds.
But Jaguar just released a $135,000 Apple car in the UK.
What do you mean, Apple Jag?
A Jag. Jag just came out with an EV. The sucker goes for $135,000, and people are lusting after it.
Yeah, but it's not an Apple.
There's a lot of cars you can lust after.
I'm just saying, people will put that money out.
Oh yeah.
Well, yeah, but okay. Let me back up to my AirPods Max stance, which was Apple is selling you $300, maybe $350 headphones for $550. If Apple wants to sell me a $95,000 car, and I'm rounding up because the last time I looked at a Tesla, they started at like 85. So if it's like a $95,000 or $100,000 car and Apple wants to sell it for $120, $125, that's fine. If Apple wants to sell me a $100,000 car for $200,000, that's a very different conversation. And here's how it goes. No, that's the whole thing. So like, I want them to, and like Brittany, like when this happens, it will turn my head and it will change my mind, because one of the things that I can say about Apple, regardless of whether or not the product is for me, regardless of whether or not the product is something I want, it's going to be thoughtfully designed. I like to think that somebody who actually drives cars places is going to be a person who is in charge of the Apple car. Just like I like to think somebody who used a lot of smartphones was in charge of the iPhone. Somebody in charge of computers is, the person in charge of computers. That's what I want to see happen. So now if I could just get one of the people who works on HomeKit to actually live with another person and see how it works to share it with another person, then that would be a happy, happy day. I guess I'd put that on my wish list, is I want a married person to have to be the person in charge of HomeKit, so that more than one person managing it is a thing that is possible realistically without a bunch of gyrations. So anyway, like
Andrew?
that's my thing about the car.
Well, that's the thing. He doesn't work at Apple anymore, but the person who a lot of reports said really was into cars besides watches was Johnny Ive.
Yeah.
So would they lease that design out to his new company, do you think?
Yep.
Yes.
Maybe.
Oh yeah. I mean,
Awesome.
they said
I'd be
they
okay
have
with that. I approve of his taste in cars.
They said he's got a good relationship with Apple. It's not like he left on bad terms or anything. So
Right.
like, yeah, I'm sure that there's like a contracting option, right, where they can get him in to consult on something. So that wouldn't surprise me in the least.
David, you're quiet.
Yeah. Well, one of the big things I was going to bring up is, and it's been discussed a lot, is the battery technology. I think Apple really, if they were to even do this, they want to look at accelerating the battery technology so you can get longer distances with these electric cars. Because Tesla obviously still been working on it, but I think we still got a few more years to go before those batteries will be ready for prime time when it comes to that. But I would love to see 300, 400 miles on a charge would be pretty incredible to see. But
They have that.
100. Yeah, I would consider a real breakthrough in EVs when they hit the 500 mile mark, and that when they're able to recharge them in less than an hour.
Like, one of the things that Apple does that I don't think gets the attention it deserves is pushing battery technology, pushing power optimization for the battery that you have. Yeah. Design of batteries. That's part of the Reuters piece that we talked about this morning, is talking about like the kind of battery that they think Apple is developing as part of this car program. And that's the thing I think is going to kick the door in. Like, if Apple's really going to get a hold in the automobile market, that's how they're going to do it, is you can charge this car, to Guy's point, you can charge this car in half an hour and have 300 miles on it. And in an hour you get 550 or something, like something like that. And that's going to be the thing that's going to get the attention.
But they could also.
Tesla is working on trucks, and by trucks,
right,
long distance, haulers,
semi trucks. Like,
the problem there is long distance trucks will typically do 500 to 700 miles in a single day. 8 to 10 hours of solid driving.
Right.
And if they can't deliver a truck that's capable of that, then no one, no self-respecting company is going to buy it, because their margins are razor thin as far as delivery goes. And that's one of their biggest costs isn't so much making the widget, it's getting the widget from point A to point B. And if it's going to cost them a significant amount more to move that widget around, then it's just not going to work. They're not going to do it.
That's what it is. Guy just hit on it. It's the people. The truck, or like the car, needs to last as long as a driver's shift, because drivers, like people, are only legally allowed to drive X hours. So the charge needs to last X hours, because that's how long people can drive. So, and then they have to have, I don't know if it's I don't remember if it's 4 hours off or 8 hours off. I don't remember what that is now.
It has to be ready to go again.
Right. But it needs to be ready to go when the person is ready to go again.
Right.
Right.
When they're legally allowed to drive again.
Right. But if you can optimize that time, anything you can do to make that shorter. So like maybe somebody stops for lunch and they can get another couple 100 miles out, charge while they're eating or whatever, like that kind of thing. I think that's going to be the magic. I think, Guy, that you hit on it there. The truck needs to last as long as a shift.
Yeah. And the other thing is there's a lot of people out there who still will do something stupid, crazy like me and drive from Virginia all the way down to Florida. And you can't get from Virginia to Florida on a 300-mile charge. Even with a 45-minute fast charge to 80%, you're still looking at doing 2 or 3 of those kinds of stops.
Right.
So the one thing that I was kind of hoping was going to happen with this, because we've got all these gas stations around, what's going to happen to all these gas stations when EV becomes the dominant? And it's like, where did all the people go who used to shoe horses in their stables? They went away because cars took over. So if EVs take over, we have all these gas stations. What do we do with these gas stations? My idea has been to have the battery pack to be removable. You pull into what used to be a gas station. Guy comes out, and we're talking New Jersey, so you can't do it yourself. The guy comes out.
Or here.
He takes the battery out of your car, takes it inside, puts it on a hook, starts it to recharge again, brings a fresh one out, puts it in your car 10, 15 minutes later, just like you were if you were filling your car up with gas, you're back on the road with a full charge. But right now, we have Nissan, we have Toyota, we have Hyundai, we have Kia, we have Tesla. We have all these different car companies that are working on different types of technology. They're not sharing their technology. And the one thing that made the gasoline engine become king was that it was a common technology shared amongst all of the different platforms that wanted to make cars. This has to happen in order for EVs to become the dominant force for transportation. We need some kind of standard amongst all of these manufacturers. Even something as simple as the connector for the battery isn't standard. None of this is standard. Everyone wants to do their own thing, and it's not going to work as long as they keep doing their own thing.
One thing you didn't mention was
box under me. How the hell did that get there?
What?
So
one car manufacturer didn't mention is Ford. Ford is now released the Mustang EV, and there's already a lot of excitement about that car. And Ford is committed. Ford is committed to the next 10 years that they may very well go all EV at some point, looking at trucks as well as other vehicles as well. So,
and what happens if Ford or GM or any of these car companies that are going all EV don't make it?
Does
what if
somebody here drive an EV? I missed that.
No.
Okay.
I have a hybrid.
We have a charging station at our family business. I was under the impression that it charged, so it's a Tesla charger, but that also has like generic charger thing. I was under the impression that most cars could charge there. It may not be as fast as the Teslas if they were using the alternate one. I'd also heard somewhere that some of the blueprints had been open sourced. I don't know. You're right that they need to be on a standard for it to really work. But I had thought they were further along than that. And I could be wrong because I only know the theory with a charging station. Huh?
In Europe, they have roughly 3 or 4 standards.
That is too many.
And it depends on the amount of voltage. Yeah, but
it may be less than we have. I don't know. But
going to unleaded gas and gas, I take you back to that junk.
Sure. Well,
that was a pain in the butt too. That took a while to smooth out.
Yes, there were additives that you could put in.
No, you couldn't get the dang nozzle into an unleaded vehicle.
Oh, I remember.
Well, that was the way they prevented you from damaging the car.
How they keep you from putting the wrong gas in the car. Yeah.
But for EVs, we're just going to have dongles. That'll solve the whole problem.
You're right.
Well, now we know why Apple's getting into the car market because they haven't sold enough adapters.
That's right.
USB.
So here's my question. and this is to Kelly because I actually didn't listen to today's studio episode, but earlier Brian was mentioning there are several different scenarios when it comes to cars that Apple could enter into, like a car that actual consumers like us could buy.
Right.
One like the Uber where it's for hire and it's just for hire.
Yep.
But then also he mentioned there was a separate for rent deal where it sounded like it was more like, I don't know, enterprise or something of that nature.
Like a fleet.
leasing
Like a fleet car.
Yeah.
I think mostly what he was looking for was hiring, was kind of where he was headed with that. Was we are headed for a world where lots of people don't own vehicles, where it becomes far more the exception than the norm. And so you would hail. So his question is, can you buy an Apple car in the future? Like if Apple makes a car, can you buy one or can you just hail one? You know, because there's some company that has a fleet of them and then you just go, you open up your phone, your phone from Apple, and you open up the app from Apple and you say, send me a car from Apple. I am headed to the Apple store, and you get there, you know, without help and buy a new computer or an adapter or whatever. And you go. So
it makes sense because I lived in Philadelphia when I was married, and we had a car, and we're paying the insurance and all this other crud for it, and we're paying down the car. And our neighbor pointed out to us, you know, you only use that car to go 80 miles to see your folks once a month. The rest of the time you walk to work. Mm-hmm. So what do you need it for? Why don't you just rent a car for when you want to go up? Mm-hmm. And I think that's what Kelly's talking about.
Well, and there is precedent for now these are established car manufacturers, but making certain models for certain industries, taxi cabs, police cruisers, ambulances.
Well, they have that in Europe and in Asia.
Yeah,
they have cars for urban environments, vans for just deliveries in cities. I mean, they actually tailor them for where they're going to be used.
Sure. So there are some precedents. I guess I think one thing that I haven't heard talked about is, you know, at least in today's discussions, is the idea of Apple partnering with someone and partnering to make an Apple car. At one point, I think they were partnered with someone, and then that sort of went by the wayside. But Apple doesn't necessarily have to build the whole, I don't know if this is a widget or not, but a four-wheeled widget. But they could provide the technology for that widget and then tap the expertise of the auto industry.
The whole experience.
Make a huge amount of sense.
They don't own the whole experience end to end, which and the only thing I would say about that, Chuck, is that the computer that I am talking to you from right now is the one that Apple started building their own processors for because Intel. So I have a pretty compelling argument for Apple wanting to own the experience end to end sitting on my desk right now.
Yeah, whatever happened to Rivian? Did Ford buy Rivian?
I don't even know who that is.
Yeah,
Rivian was a car that they were going to go toe to toe with Tesla. Because I actually wrote to the board asking if they'd build a handicap vehicle. And the guy said, we'll send it to the board. And I'm thinking, Rivian is sort of falling off the map. That'd be something Apple could pick up. And they've already made the body.
Yeah.
Well, I watched this thing called Fully Charged, which is a podcast about electronic vehicles, batteries, all that stuff.
Yeah, Kelly, I agree with what you're saying, but we're all acting like Apple has to have this thing fully formed, poof, and it's there. And
I'm not.
And unlike the Mac,
I don't want an EV that goes poof.
Well, you know what I mean. But the point is that they've got to take steps along the way, and also even that Mac that's sitting on your desk was built by someone that Apple contracted to build it.
Right, to their specs, with their own processors, with their own storage, with their own operating, with their own software. It's their own hardware now and their own software. So the whole SoC thing and all of that, like this is Apple owning the experience end to end. And we haven't seen how that's going to turn out yet. I might have made a terrible mistake.
But would it not make sense to have Apple partner with, just pick car manufacturer X, and say, you're going to build this vehicle. You can have all your other vehicles, but you're going to build this vehicle to our specs, our standards, and take advantage of their expertise.
Sure, I think so, but I don't run the car project at Apple, so.
Well, they would kind of do that anyway. I mean, they don't build their own computers now. They don't build their own phones now. All these other companies make it for them. So Apple would probably, if Apple was going to make a car, and I'm not convinced that they are, then they would go to, if they were building it in China, they would go to Chery, or they would go to Kia or Hyundai or Toyota, or here in the States, GM or Ford. Maybe even, with depending on what Fiat does with Chrysler, maybe just buy out the entire corporation. By that time, Chrysler will probably cost about $10 and change. But
it's not even going to cost the money they could shake out of the break room couch, is what you're saying.
Right.
Well, go ahead, David. Go ahead. Sorry.
And I was just going to bring up. Meanwhile, investors obviously got excited about it because the Apple's stock went, skyrocketed, and Tesla stock went down 6%. So, I mean, it's just funny how investors get so excited about these types of rumors, and there's no guarantees this is going to happen.
Well, what I thought was interesting, so after that Reuters article came out, Elon Musk tweeted something like, a monorail battery is what Apple was rumored to have been building. He said that was electrochemically impossible. But I'm like, is that true, or is he just saying that because he's a competitor?
Yeah, that was my question too.
He's good at that.
Yeah.
Making comments like that.
Yeah. What I was going to say was, remember when we had the Apple event that was the one where they unveiled Fitness Plus? And remember, as soon as they said, this is Fitness Plus and it's live trainers and it's $80 a year, how Peloton stock flung itself off a cliff? Like, does anyone remember? Like, I'm like, almost all of us remember what it was like when somebody went Apple, when somebody said the words Apple computer, and somebody else went, they still make computers, or they're still in business, or my favorite, I heard Microsoft bought them. So I just it's the end of the year. We're staring back at, this year, but like in general, like it's a time of reflection. And that's a thing that I have been thinking about lately because of the stock thing that we saw earlier, with Tesla, like I just sort of I marvel at the company that we're all here to chat about, regardless of the smack that we can talk about them or the irritation that we have with the company or whatever. Like, this is a company that said, we're going to give you a way to get, now that we've given you TV Plus so that you can spend all your time sitting on the couch, we're now going to give you a service to help get your tuchus off the couch. And that caused another company's stock to plummet. And I just marvel at the power of that company being the same company that we remember from back in the day. That's all. Like, it's a thing that I've sort of entertained the notion of lately. So while we're talking about, Apple and their future, I just want to take a second for the past, because I was really kind of impressed when that happened. Like, I was a little confused, and then like just sort of impressed at the magnitude of Apple saying, we'll stream fitness people on the internet for you, and that caused another company's stock to fluctuate like that.
But so we had a visit from the ghost of Apple Pass.
So there's one of three.
We'll be back in the next edition of Mac Voices with this second part of this Mac Voices Live holiday party, where we talk more about Apple's effect on other companies and the Apple Car and a whole lot of other things as we just enjoy hanging out for the holiday. So until then, and as always, I'm Chuck Joyner. Thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you Mac Voices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.